You understand I could have told my father you dropped me in the mud. You're very fortunate I have a merciful heart.
If you're an Outlander fan, then Season 8 is probably giving you all sorts of feelings: excitement, dread, nostalgia, and maybe even some frustration. On the one hand, it's incredible that the final season is tackling such a crucial story, tying up loose ends and diving deeper into the lore we've followed for years. But on the other hand, there's a pretty big problem looming over everything. And honestly, if Claire doesn't find out one tragic truth before the series ends, it's going to feel like something major was missed. But before diving into that, let's talk about the trailer for Season 8, which just dropped during San Diego Comic-Con. It's packed with everything longtime fans love: time travel, epic battles, heartfelt moments, and of course, Claire and Jamie being the ultimate power couple. It kicks off with a fast-paced montage of highlights from the past seasons, basically reminding us why we've stuck around for so long. Then it gets heavier, with Jamie reading a book from the future that predicts a war and his death. It's exactly the kind of twist that makes you stop and stare at your screen, unsure whether to cry or binge the entire season in one sitting. To really set the emotional tone, they even brought out Raya Yarborough to perform the theme song, the Skyboat Song, live. Fans got to sing along, and there were bagpipers. It was a full-on moment. So even though the show's ending, they're sending it off in style. And while it's sad to say goodbye to Claire and Jamie, we do have something new coming our way: Outlander Blood of My Blood. That prequel is going to give us a look into the love stories of Jamie's and Claire's parents, and it might just hold some answers to the questions the main series is leaving behind. Now, here's where things get complicated. Even though Season 7 already hit us with some pretty surprising revelations, like the possibility that Claire's daughter, Faith Fraser, might have survived, it turns out that wasn't even the biggest twist. The Blood of My Blood trailer dropped a real bombshell. Claire's parents didn't die in a car crash when she was 5, like she always believed. They apparently time-traveled back to 18th century Scotland. This changes everything. So far, we don't know much about what happened to Henry and Julia Beauchamp after they landed in the past. Did they survive? Where did they end up? Did they ever try to get back to Claire? Those answers are likely being saved for later episodes of the prequel, but here's the kicker. Claire's story is wrapping up in Season 8. If she doesn't find out what really happened to her parents, that's going to leave a pretty big hole in the narrative. And let's be honest, it would be incredibly unfair to her character. Claire has been through so much over the years, losing people, gaining new ones, traveling through time, and constantly trying to protect the people she loves. To have her story end without ever discovering that her parents didn't actually die, that just doesn't sit right, especially when we now know they were in the same century as her. At some point, their paths could have crossed. Now, it's worth noting that this whole twist is a new addition from the show's creative team. Diana Gabaldon, the author of the Outlander books, never wrote this into the original story. In fact, she said before that there wasn't anything magical or time-related about the car accident that killed Claire's parents. But now that the show has introduced this new storyline, it kind of has to follow through. You can't just reveal that Claire's parents went back in time and then not let Claire find out. And since Claire will be looking into her past in Season 8, mostly because she's searching for more information about Faith Pocock, the woman she now thinks might be her daughter, it makes sense that she could stumble onto some clues about her parents too. It would honestly be amazing if we saw her find out the truth. Even better if there was some kind of emotional reunion, though that would probably require a crossover with Blood of My Blood. But still, a letter, a keepsake, something that shows they were alive and cared about her would go a long way. Now, speaking of crossovers, let's talk about what could happen between Outlander Season 8 and the prequel. Since Blood of My Blood is airing before the final season of Outlander, the timing almost feels intentional, like maybe the creators wanted these two shows to build on each other in a meaningful way. Both shows were filmed around the same time, and the actors have been promoting them together, so it wouldn't be too far-fetched to think there might be some overlap, or at least some nods that tie the two series together. Think about it. Between the twist with Faith and now the reveal about Claire's parents, that's 3 major family members who were thought to be dead, but actually weren't. That's too much to be a coincidence. there has to be some plan to connect these stories, even if it's subtle. Maybe Claire doesn't get a full family reunion, but if she finds out her parents knew Jamie's parents, or that they were in the same area at the same time, that would be huge. It would bring her journey full circle in a really powerful way. And honestly, it would just feel right. The entire series has been about love, loss, time, and fate. If Claire gets to learn that her parents survived, it would add one more emotional layer to the already complex and beautiful story we've been watching for years. It would also give fans some closure, especially since we know this final season is going to be emotional. We've already seen Jamie's death foreshadowed in that book from the future. There's a lot of loss coming, so balancing that with some hope and resolution could be exactly what the finale needs. As for Blood of My Blood itself, it's shaping up to be something special. It's set to premiere on August 8th, and it's taking us way back, focusing on Jamie's parents, Ellen Mackenzie and Brian Fraser, as well as Claire's parents, Julia Morriston and Henry Beauchamp. Their love stories play out across different times and places. Jamie's parents are wrapped up in 18th century Scottish politics, while Claire's parents fall in love during World War I before getting swept into the past through a mysterious accident. What's even more interesting is how the prequel might continue. The showrunner, Matthew B. Roberts, has said that he doesn't want to limit it to just 3 seasons, even though author Gabaldon is planning to write 3 prequel books. He thinks there's a lot more story to tell, and honestly, that sounds promising. There are tons of directions this could go, especially with all the time travel and new characters involved. The prequel will explore not just romance, but also the political and personal challenges these families faced. For example, Jamie's mother Ellen is being used by her brothers as a pawn for power, while Jamie's father Brian is the illegitimate son of Lord Lovett. On the other hand, Claire's parents are separated when they arrive in the 18th century after their accident, and they have to find their way back to each other and maybe even back to Claire. Whether they succeed or not is still up in the air. So while Season 8 is giving us closure on the love story that started it all, it's also opening up new questions through the prequel. But again, it's so important that Claire learns the truth before her story ends. It would be heartbreaking for her to go to her grave never knowing her parents didn't abandon her in death, that they were out there, caught in the same time travel web that's defined her whole life. She deserves to know, and we as fans deserve that too. We've watched Claire fight and sacrifice and heal and lead through impossible circumstances. If anyone has earned some answers, and maybe even a happy surprise, it's her. So here's hoping that Season 8 delivers, not just on the action and heartbreak we know is coming, but also on the closure and emotional depth that could make this ending one for the ages. Because as bittersweet as it is to say goodbye, it'll all be worth it if Claire finally gets the truth. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.